rapper Chef G. Does everybody know Chef? Where is Chef G? Where is he?
A big night last night. Nikki Haley making her first public remarks since dropping out of the race. She said that Joe Biden has been a catastrophe, and she said she's voting for you. I'm sure those were welcome remarks for you, but it also left a lot of people wondering, is there room for her on your team, or better yet, your ticket?
Come on up, fellas. Rapper Sleepy Hollow. Come on up here, fellas. Well, I think she's going to be on our team because we have a lot of the same ideas, the same thoughts. I appreciated what she said. How are you, man? Hey. Oh, I like that. I want to get that done.
President Trump.
Say something,
man.
Please.
One thing I want to say. One thing I want to say. They always gonna whisper your accomplishments and shout your failures. Trump gonna shout the wins for all of us.
You know, we had a nasty campaign. It was pretty nasty. But she's a very capable person, and I'm sure she's going to be on our team in some form. Absolutely.
Make America great again.
Thank you, fellas. I appreciate you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you very much. That's where I like those teeth. I want to find out where you did. I got to get my teeth like that. I want that to happen to me.
Because, I started thinking that, 80% of Republicans are just Democrats who don't know what's going on, who aren't paying attention. And, I think a lot of it is people really aren't paying attention. I was in Alabama 2 weeks ago, and I was driving from Huntsville to Birmingham. And the AM dial is all right-wing talk, right? It's completely, there's nothing progressive or liberal. But in Alabama, the FM dial is also 100% right-wing talk. So there's 5 stations, and all of them are extremely, really, poisonous racial stuff that you would not, believe was happening in America. And there's one NPR station. Of course, public radio is not liberal. It's just, neutral. It's just truth, right?
What's going on, everybody? So today we're going to talk about a few things. First of all, the title is Trump Has the Hood on Lock. He went to the Bronx and he brought out 2 rappers that I actually haven't heard of before this. And I don't know, I just thought it was a funny title, but we're going to talk about that for a second. And then we're going to talk about, someone asked him if Nikki Haley was going to be on his team or ticket, and Trump responded and said that Nikki would be on his team and they have a lot of the same ideas and same thoughts. I want to talk about that for a second. Then I found this video. I'm not quite sure where it's from, but RFK is running for office. So, of course, people are going to be skeptical of his ideas and his politics because he's putting himself out there to be the president of the United States. And this clip shows him just trashing Alabama conservative radio for being too racial. And he's just drooling over NPR, saying that they're so neutral and balanced, which I completely disagree with. We'll talk about that. And then at the end, I want to show Elise Stefanik, who is one of the options that Trump said he's going to pick for vice president. And she's very powerful in the Republican Party. She's waving an ADL thing in her hand to talk to one of these colleges. And I just wanted to make the point real quick at the end, and I have a little presentation to show you. Do not believe Republicans, whether it's Ben Shapiro, Elise Stefanik, or any of these people, when they tell you that the ADL is just a left-wing organization, because they tell you that out of one side of their mouth, and then they're constantly using them, promoting them, and telling people to even report to them as well. So that's the show for today. Give me a thumbs up for the chat, thumbs up for the algorithm. Dream Rare Podcast starts now. Thank you guys for being here.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? So we got Facebook, YouTube, Zion, Guitar Tunings. Nice. Jackie, Marla, Dalton, Clyde, Jordan, $500 fine. Oh, you're always saying confusing things. I can't tell if you like me or not, but it's okay. Thanks for being here. All right, so let's get into it. I just want to play a few clips. The first one, we'll talk about like Trump in the hood. He's like, I want to get that done with my teeth. I want my teeth to be bright and shiny like yours. It's like, all right, bro. No, you don't. You got enough money to do it. If you would have wanted a grill, you could have had one by now. Maybe he should get one. Maybe he should come out with like an all gold grill like a rapper and just be like Trump 2024. It's money bags Trump here. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get you that money, whether it's the economy, whether it's the stocks going up. If you want a check, you want a stimulus check, we might have another round of stimulus, which then will of course destroy the economy and then we'll be broke again, but for temporary. Anyway, jokes aside, I thought it was like a funny moment. It's definitely culturally, I guess, kind of like, I don't know. I kind of just see it as like a joke now. It doesn't bother me. I just think it's funny. But yeah, I still think he's going to lose New York and the Bronx. One thing I will say before I get into the more important clips, when I see this sort of stuff, Trump goes to New Jersey, right? And people are like, oh, he's going to win New Jersey. Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. He goes to New York. People are like, oh, he's got the Bronx on lock. He definitely has some hood rappers who like him. He has some non-hood rappers who like him. He has a lot of people who like him. Even if you go to, say, Los Angeles, like it's not like 100% to 0%. Only DC is like 90-10. Most even cities are like 60-40, which means if the city, I'm just going to use it as an example. I don't know how many people New York City has in it. Let's just say it had 10 million people. It doesn't probably, but if 30% like President Trump, that's 3 million people. If it's 40%, that's 4 million people. It's not that hard to get tens of thousands of people to support you in a city. It doesn't necessarily mean you get the votes. And then it's like, people will be like, how did he lose the Bronx? It's like, because he was never going to win the Bronx. Just because he had a rally and people from all over came to see him there doesn't mean he's going to win the vote. But I'm not saying it matters. I just find that funny when people post that. I don't really have much to say. I don't think it's that important. It's just kind of comedic in my opinion and interesting. I will say this to add a compliment. I think it's cool that he did go to the Bronx. I'm sure a lot of presidents are afraid to go to the Bronx. I'm sure a lot of people that are politicians would never stop there. They don't think it's important and they don't want to show up. So regardless of what you think of Trump, I do think that it's cool that he went there. A man of the people in a sense, or so to be perceived. And, not everybody would stop there. And I think people do appreciate when people show up in their neighborhood. With that being said, I saw this clip this morning and I was like, oh, geez, here we go again. So let's listen to the clip and I want to play both sides of it and just talk about how I see what people are going to say, but then I'll show you why I think what I think. So here it is.
A big night last night. Nikki Haley making her first public remarks since dropping out of the race. She said that Joe Biden has been a catastrophe, and she said she's voting for you. I'm sure those were welcome remarks for you, but it also left a lot of people wondering, is there room for her on your team, or better yet, your ticket?
Well, I think she's going to be on our team because we have a lot of the same ideas, the same thoughts. I appreciated what she said. We had a nasty campaign. It was pretty nasty, but she's a very capable person, and I'm sure she's going to be on our team in some form. Absolutely.
So Tina, of course, it's always the Facebook boomers. We love the Facebook boomers here. Tina and Susan, they're saying 30K people showed up. Your cynicism is disappointing. I'm not a cynic. I'm just not stupid. So it's like, if you're like eating a rock and it's like breaking your teeth and you're like, do you want to eat a rock with me? And I'm like, no, I don't want to eat that rock. I don't want to break my teeth on the rock. You're, oh, you're so pessimistic. It's like, that's not cynicism. Like being not dumb is not cynic. So if you want to listen and consider what I'm saying, stay tuned. And just a heads up, I'm going to play the clip again because I want to like take it in and then react. But if you ever want to learn and retain new information or consideration is what makes somebody like a tolerable person just in personality, maybe try not talking. I appreciate the comments. I mean, it's good for the algorithm, but like try not talking for 5 minutes, just 5, give me 5-10 minutes max, and then open your mouth again. But if you never do that, then you're just going to say the same things you always thought. And if you're wrong, you're just going to look ignorant to smart people. So just a heads up. And let's play the clip again of him talking about Nikki Haley. And then I'm going to get into what I'm saying. And I'm going to repeat this before I play the clip. I'm not a cynic, but Trump's not going to win New Jersey. Come back to me in November. He's not going to win the Bronx. He's going to get blown out. And 30,000 people in a city with millions of people is extremely impressive. If you're a rapper or a musician or a politician, it's impressive. Trump is popular, no doubt. But they're not all from New York. They're not all from the Bronx. And just because he can pull 30,000 people does not mean he's going to win that area. He's going to lose the Bronx. He's going to lose New Jersey, and he's going to lose New York. It is what it is. Let me know how cynical I am in November. I don't even care really that much about politics. So, but whatever. Let me get into my show. I'm not going to let the Facebook boomers derail it like they always try, but let's listen to that clip again.
A big night last night. Nikki Haley making her first public remarks since dropping out of the race. She said that Joe Biden has been a catastrophe, and she said she's voting for you. I'm sure those were welcome remarks for you, but it also left a lot of people wondering, is there room for her on your team, or better yet, your ticket?
Well, I think she's going to be on our team because we have a lot of the same ideas, the same thoughts. I appreciated what she said. You know, we had a nasty campaign. It was pretty nasty, but she's a very capable person, and I'm sure she's going to be on our team in some form. Absolutely.
He went as far to say they have a lot of the same thoughts and ideas, and she's going to be on his team. It was a loaded question because the lady said, is she going to be on your team or your ticket? Which is like, you know, is she going to be on your ticket? Is she going to be on your team? Ask if she's going to be vice president. Trump's like, she'll be on the team, not the ticket. And, you know, we have a lot of the same thoughts and ideas. I'm going to tell you what people are saying and why I think what I think. And I always try to be transparent with what I do. That's why, you know, especially when I used to do more news reports videos, the reason they always went so viral, I'm just going to give you like a layer behind the psychology of why my videos got 1 billion views. It's because they were easy to understand and share, because it's like, oh, Anomaly's not just saying it like, oh, the weather's changing and I can't explain why. I'll show you 15 articles, 15 news clips, things that even you can't disprove. And you'll be like, oh yeah, no, that's totally makes sense. So there's a reason I'm going to say what I say. It's not just because I think it or I'm just yelling. It's because I've done the research to realize that, you know, this is going to be similar to what happened last time. So what people will say, which I totally understand, is Trump's just saying that he's got to unify the party. He's got to win the election, right? You can't be fighting with everybody and the people like Nikki Haley who can bring in the donors. You can't just fight with them to win an election. You got to unify. You have to unify the party. You have to beat Joe Biden, and then you have to start doing more stuff, which is true. I 1,000% understand why people are going to say that, because they're not wrong. That makes total sense if you watch that clip and you think, it's not that bad. I mean, yeah, he said he has a lot of the same thoughts and ideas as Nikki Haley, but, you know, it's election time. He's got to do what he's got to do. Makes sense. Here's why I am concerned, because I have proof of Trump doing this another time with Chris Christie and others, to the sense where now when Trump says you're bird brain or you're fat or you're stupid or you're the swamp or you're the deep state, to me, Trump is kind of just like a circus character. He's like a clown, a funny clown, where his jokes are hilarious, but they're just jokes. They're jokes for people. It doesn't actually reflect what he does or how he feels or who he wants to hire. Let me show you the clip, because in 2015 and 2016, Trump mocked Chris Christie the same way he did a year ago. You know, he called him in some cases fat, or, you know, you guys know what he calls Chris Christie. He's been ragging on Chris Christie for 7 years now. But after he ragged on Chris Christie, I used to think it was funny. Once I realized that he listens to Chris Christie, he hired his FBI director, Christopher Wray, because of Chris Christie, and he has no problem listening to Chris Christie and essentially letting Chris Christie choose his positions for him. That means to me that the nicknames mean nothing. So this is what I want to say after I played this clip. It's the same thing with Nikki Haley. Him calling her bird brain and deep state is funny, but you have to realize at a certain point that that's just the character that Trump's playing for his base. Meanwhile, he has no problem teaming up with Nikki Haley, having the same ideas as Nikki Haley, which everyone's going to have overlap, but I'm sure that she's going to be a part of his campaign, or at least a part of his administration, because that's what Trump does, is he makes fun of the swamp. He mocks the swamp. He does a stand-up routine about the swamp. Then he hires the swamp and lets people like Chris Christie make his decisions for him. Here's the clip from a year or two ago on Sean Hannity.
But I put somebody in that the other side, everybody agreed to. You know who recommended him to me? Chris Christie. Okay, he recommended him. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I've taken Chris Christie's recommendations before. And other people wanted Christopher Wray. And people from the other side wanted Christopher Wray.
But now,
so Sean Hannity was asking him, I'll play it again for those. I had to speed it up so they don't copyright strike me. Sean Hannity was like, why did you pick Chris Wray for the FBI, because even now Trump is complaining about being persecuted by not just Merrick Garland of the Justice Department and some of these other loser judges from New York, etc., but he's really like, yo, the FBI seems weaponized against me. They're in on it too. And Sean Hannity rightfully brought up in that interview, not a big fan of him, but this was a valid question. He said, you hired Christopher Wray. Why? And the longer clip I can't play because they'll probably give me a copyright strike, but Trump saying, I picked Christopher Wray because both sides wanted Christopher Wray and I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted somebody that both sides liked. And, Chris Christie recommended Chris Wray to me. And, Chris Christie, I listened to him a lot and there's nothing wrong with his decision. So, maybe I made a mistake, maybe I didn't, but that's kind of how I picked him. So getting into the layers, and I feel like for some weird reason, because I don't think it's that hard to do this, but I think it requires not being like obsessed with politics to the point where it's like a hero worship thing to you. Like, I feel like, especially in the news media on the conservative side, you don't have a lot of analytical people that can take their emotion out of it and try to call it like they see it, which is what journalism, I think, was supposed to be at a certain point. Now it's obviously not that, but it's like, it's not saying you have to hate the guy or obsess over the guy, but even if you love the guy, can you piece things together like this and try to figure out who they are and what they're doing? Like, for example, when I find out that Trump or Biden or whoever took hundreds of millions of dollars from donors and then they do something, it's not like Obama's running the Biden administration. That's what most people say. Obama's not running the Biden administration. Biden's not running the Biden administration. Obama didn't run the Obama administration. There's a layer way above Obama and Biden, and then there's a layer above that. And to be quite fair, there's a layer above Trump as well, the donor class and the people with money that basically steer his administration, which is why he hired almost 100% of the swamp. It's really easy, actually, to figure this stuff out if you really do the research and connect the dots. But the thing is, most people don't want to connect the dots because they think they're watching some sort of WWE narrative where he's going to body slam Joe Biden in the fourth quarter and save all the children. And it's just like not really true. With that being said, there's a difference between voting for left and right to some extent, the judges and certain policy preferences, et cetera, foreign policy to some extent, although it really doesn't change. But in general, this is what I noticed about that, and I'm going to play the clip again. This year, when Trump was making fun of Chris Christie, because Chris Christie, for whatever reason, ran for president, he was on the debate stage, he was making fun of Trump or pointing out things about Trump and Jared Kushner or whatever, trying to like insert himself into the presidential race. And so Trump started mocking Chris Christie, right? He constantly called him like, he eats too much, which seems like it's true based on the physical evidence. I wouldn't say he doesn't eat a lot. It looks like he does eat a lot, I'm guessing, unless he's just naturally big body, probably not. But this is not about how fat Chris Christie is. That has been discussed enough on Truth Social, Twitter, and Facebook, and probably every social media. But it's like, okay, Trump calling Chris Christie fat 100 times in 2023 is kind of funny. It's not the least funny thing I've ever heard, but it doesn't mean anything to me because once I realized that the joker and the jester who's making the jokes is simply just making the jokes for the people, but he doesn't actually believe that. And he's willing to not only work with those people, but allow those people to essentially puppet his administration and hire his FBI director. Now I feel stupid if I laugh along. Like the joke is on me. If I'm like, ha, 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 he called him fat. And I'm pointing out, it's like, he's calling him fat now, but he just admitted he hired one of the most important positions in government because Chris Christie told him to. So the joke is actually on you, not just Chris Christie. If you think Trump's fighting Chris Christie when he's working with Chris Christie, you understand? And this is what politics is. They find a Democrat or a half black guy who can appeal to a certain percentage of the population for 8 years. And then when that fails, they find a white guy that's conservative that can appeal to that percentage of the population. And when that fails, they bring in the corpse of Joe Biden, and that fails quickly. And they're going to usher him out and probably bring back in Trump because of his foreign policy. But in general, it's like, you could laugh at the jokes. I think Trump is hilarious. He's comedically very funny. I think he's like a comedy level, like high level comedian. Like Trump just has good charisma, good personality, and he's genuinely pretty funny. With that being said, it's just a joke. Like when he makes fun of Nikki Haley, he doesn't mean it. When he makes fun of Chris Christie, he's going to work with Chris Christie. He already did. So just keep in mind, this happened after Trump trashed Chris Christie.
But I put somebody in that the other side, everybody agreed to. You know who recommended him to me? Chris Christie. Okay, he recommended him. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I've taken Chris Christie's recommendations before. And other people wanted Christopher Wray. And people from the other side wanted Christopher Wray.
But now,
so Jose, I'm glad you said this, because it's like, to me, this is like a really simple concept, but it seems like you're struggling with it. You said, dude, you're taking the nicknames way too seriously. I don't know if you're dumb or you're just not listening. I'll repeat it again, but then I got more interesting stuff to move on to. I don't take the nicknames seriously. I don't care who. I think Trump's nicknames are funny. Lion Ted, Bird Brain, Fatty, McFat. It like that. I'm not offended by nicknames. I'm not taking them seriously. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. What I'm saying is, if a guy is calling someone names, yet he works with them and hires FBI directors because they're puppeting his administration, the names are just jokes for you. It's not. I'm not saying it's not funny. I'm not saying you can't laugh at it. But it doesn't matter. It's like if Biden was a comedian, but he was selling out the country and you're laughing and you're like, you're taking it too seriously. No, I don't care if you laugh or cringe at the jokes. It's just, they're just jokes. You understand? Trump is going to work with Nikki Haley. Trump is going to work with the swamp. Trump is going to work with the donors. All the jokes that he's saying against them are just for you to think that he's against them. And he proves that by hiring an FBI director because Chris Christie told him to. When I listen to the Chris Christie jokes, it's not that I take them seriously. It's just I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Trump doesn't like Chris Christie. Oh, this is awesome. Trump is he's different than the deep state. But the difference from the deep state for Trump is mostly just a comedy routine for people because they realize that they need people to think that it's different in order for people to not find somebody that actually does something. And I tweeted it in a question yesterday because it seems like when I ask a question, people are more receptive to when I just say it. But I said, what if the election, this next election, doesn't even matter? They've already decided it, and they basically just give you a character to make you feel like you have a dog in the race. And someone in the comments was like, I'm a Trump supporter, and I have been wondering that. And it's like, yeah, I actually think that. I'd just rather ask a question because then, people don't get so mad at you. But yeah, it's like I've come to that conclusion. It's obvious to me. With that being said, I want to get through a few more things, and then I'll answer some of the questions in the comments. I'm not going to slow it down for the slowest people in the chat, but to wrap it up, Trump did a rally in the Bronx. I think it's cool that he went. I think it shows that, I think a lot of people do appreciate it when you go to areas that most people don't go to. I think that aspect of it's cool. It's a cultural moment. He had on some pretty flashy rappers. And, I think that will do well for him, maybe in certain demographics. I don't think that all the 30,000 people that came to that rally were from the Bronx. I don't think 30,000 people is enough to win New York. There's millions of people there and millions will vote. So, I mean, it's cool. It is what it is. It's definitely like theater. But to me, I'm just going to play this clip again. This reminds me of when Trump pardoned Lil Wayne and Kodak Black. And then nobody even realized that Trump pardoned a foreign spy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do the thing that everybody's going to react to. It's like so obvious at this point, but people don't want to hear it. It's like, when I talk about politics, I said this a while ago, but it's like ruining Game of Thrones for somebody. Like if you spoil the ending and you're like, hey, this is what happens at the ending, all your friends are going to hate you. They're like, dude, shut up. I'm only on episode 5. Why would you do that? It's really messed up to, spoil the ending of a show that someone's not watched. To me, this is real life. This is like our economy. This is why inflation is bad. This is why both parties have been scamming us for decades. This is why millions of people are dying overseas and we're funding multiple wars that makes the world hate us. It's important. We're not watching Game of Thrones, but to most people, they're watching Game of Thrones. So when you tell them, a spoiler, it bothers them to their soul because they feel like you're ruining their movie. You know what I'm saying? Let me watch Trump with rappers on stage. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like he's not racist. It makes me feel like he's beating the left. It makes me feel like more black people are going to vote for him. It makes me feel like he's going to win New York. It makes me feel like he's going to win New Jersey. Like, are you 5 years old? Do you want a baby binky too? A little Trumpy binky? You could suck it like Maggie from Simpson. Like, grown people are just like grown-up babies. You know what I'm saying? Like old babies. So it's like, that's how you got to really treat politics. But it's an interesting spectacle. But like I was saying with the pardons, Trump pardoned a foreign spy. from Israel that was one of the most damaging spies in American history. I believe they sold secrets to China and the Soviet Union. I forget exactly what, but they stole a bunch of America's secrets, pretended to be in the American military to some extent, and they sold our secrets out to like our adversaries, right? So of course this guy was in prison for a long time. Trump bailed this guy out of jail and then sent him back to Israel on Trump's biggest donor's jet. So the big donor that pays Trump, Sheldon Adelson, the Israeli spy went back to Israel on his jet and then got a hero's welcome and pictures with Netanyahu. Why am I saying this? Because when I bring up that big donors are paying Trump to do stuff, people call it like an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And they're like, are you suggesting? I'm not just suggesting to suggest. I'm paying attention. Like while you're like, oh, look, Trump pardoned Lil Wayne. Cool. Trump pardoned Kodak Black. Cool. He also pardoned one of the most damaging foreign spies in American history, because that's who Trump is, and that's who Elise Stefanik is, and that's who RFK Jr. is, and that's who the Democrats are, and that's who the whole government is. So if you can't figure that out, you're just watching Game of Thrones like a spectator. You're no different than Chris Christie, sucking down popcorn. So I guess if you just want to laugh, you could laugh. But until you realize that Trump is working with all the people that he makes fun of, like Chris Christie and Nikki Haley, to put it simply, the joke is on you. I have more to say about that stuff. But with that being said, here's a video of RFK. To be fair, I don't know when it's from. I just saw it on Twitter, so it could be recent. It could be a while ago. It could be a couple years ago. But still, I mean, it's nothing personal. It's not like I'm getting into his personal life and being like a weirdo with it. This is a public speech that he had, and he is running for president, and he was running as a Democrat, and he is still very liberal. But just like politicians always try to do, they like to play both sides. They want to be pro-life. They want to be pro-choice. They want to be left. They want to be right. They want to be this. They want to be that. Politicians will be who they need to be in order to try to win an election. So I do take this clip seriously because I think it shows into RFK, unless, he comes out and says he's a totally different person, which is possible. A lot of people have gone through spiritual change. But this clip is interesting to me because he tries to say NPR is just not liberal. It's neutral, which I don't believe. He says that Alabama conservative talk radio is too racial, which I don't listen to Alabama talk radio, but I don't think I don't know. Every conversation about race doesn't have to be racist. And everyone doesn't have to it's like people like RFK. It's like they live in LA and stuff. And it's like, some people just they don't want to be like Los Angeles. They see the crime in the cities. It's like they're into traditional values. Like they don't want to be like a city flaming liberal like RFK. So, when I talk about Texas and the South, I mean, I definitely challenge them. But I'm more like, you guys are turning into LA. Like, you act like it's not, but it kind of is. I don't call their talk radio poisonous because they're saying things that RFK doesn't want to listen to. So is what it is. But here's the clip, and then I'm going to react to this. This is him talking to some neutral lady, according to him.
Because, I started thinking that, 80% of Republicans are just Democrats who don't know what's going on, who aren't paying attention. And, I think a lot of it is people really aren't paying attention. I was in Alabama 2 weeks ago, and I was driving from Huntsville to Birmingham. And the AM dial is all right-wing talk, right? It's completely, there's nothing progressive or liberal. But in Alabama, the FM dial is also 100% right-wing talk. So there's 5 stations, and all of them are extremely, really poisonous racial stuff that you would not, believe was happening in America. And there's one NPR station. Of course, public radio is not liberal. It's just, neutral. It's just truth, right? But it's not, it's not deliberately progressive or liberal. There are stations like Tom Hartman who do that, deliberately liberal stuff. NPR doesn't do that. It's very innocuous to most people. But in NPR in Alabama, it only plays classical music. Well, people aren't even getting that, and they're literally just getting this barrage of this right-wing insanity all the time, this hate stuff and demagoguery, all the alchemies of demagoguery. And
so he was going off and being like, most Alabama radio is right-wing, which makes sense because most of the people there are right-wing. And, he was saying it's like this poisonous racial demagoguery. I don't know if he's had a change of heart. Probably not. I have an interesting take on race for multiple reasons, but I think that, I differ from a lot of people because there's usually two sides of the equation. And I don't want to simplify it because I know there's millions of people that are smart as well. But sometimes people will say, don't talk about race. Don't talk about it. It doesn't matter. Just forget about it. I don't agree with that, not because you have to care about it in your day-to-day life, but if you're going to pay attention to politics and society and media and life and you want to know how things go, race is a part of it. And this is what I want people to understand. Even if you're a normal person that's like, I don't care about race, I'm not even going to think about it. That's not how everyone thinks. So you're going to have to bear the brunt of people who don't feel that way all over the world, in the country. And I'm not saying to judge people based on race. I think you should judge individuals based on the content of their character, their soul, and who they are. On an individual basis, that's what I do. But when I look at politics, I don't close my eyes and say race doesn't exist, because not only does race exist, there's people in high-level positions that's all they're thinking about. They're thinking about their race. They don't like your race. Certain people, they do like their race, but they say it's racist to like your race. So I don't agree with this idea. Like, you cannot think about race in a personal life, in your personal life. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to talk about politics, like anytime I see a conservative, commentator that's like, it doesn't matter, who cares? And it's like, well, now you're just not understanding how everything works. That would be like if I was like, forget about the political parties, left, blue, forget about it. It's like, sure, forget about liberal and conservative. Sure. Forget about America and Saudi Arabia and Israel and Ukraine. Like, we're all just one big human race. And it's like, yeah, if you're smoking weed in the jungle of Hawaii as some sort of like, dance rave, yeah, absolutely. Which I'm not opposed to doing, to be quite honest. You know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you not to do that. I mean, I'm also not telling you to do that, but I'm just saying it's like, there's a time and a place for everything. But if you're going to talk about politics and pay attention to how the world works, you literally can't ignore race, or else you're just going to like things are going to happen and you're going to have no idea why. And I'm convinced that people's understanding of like the racial conflicts in the world is so childish and sophomoric that's why they're constantly tricked all the time, left wing and right wing, because the left is like, it's white supremacy, it's this. And then the right wing's like, I don't even care about it. I like Ben Carson. It's like, cool, I like Ben Carson too. But that's not how people are thinking. And I think that sometimes most people are such good people, or such, simple people, that they can't even fathom the games that are being played in the world today. There are certain people that are holding thousands of years of grudge against certain religions and certain races. And the things that they're doing are because they're holding a grudge that you don't even know exists. So it's like, there's no heroism in not knowing that this is going on. It just means like why, it's like paying attention to politics, but knowing nothing and being like, I'm just a fan of the guy. Sure, but you're going to be wrong all the time if you're just viewing it like a WWE spectacle. So I don't believe you should ignore it completely. But also when it comes to race, unfortunately, what you see in this world is you got people who do really care about race, but they're almost always hypocritical. Let me give you an example. Someone like RFK, he's complaining about the racial poison and demagoguery of Alabama. We know what he's talking about. He's talking about Republicans and white people. We know he's not talking about, like, obviously that's probably what the conservative radio is in Alabama. Would he go to an all-black neighborhood and complain that some of the radio stations are pushing pro-black policies or they're talking about race too much? Of course not, because RFK is a shitlib. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the best. He's good in the pharmaceutical industry. He's very thoughtful on Ukraine, mysteriously completely stupid on the other foreign conflict. But, he's a shitlib. So that's what shitlibs do. They're like, I know my white people. It's like, we get it. We've heard this story before. If he was consistent, like if he really believed that talking about race is poisonous, then I want to see him go to the hood or go to a white conference. If he was at a black one in Philadelphia, I don't even know. I'm sure it was like multiracial, but it's like, say the same thing with other races. Do you have the energy to say that about black? Would you say that at a Jewish press conference? Probably not. So then what are you doing? You're only doing it to white people. That's the part that's annoying. It's like, do you actually believe that? Would Colin Kaepernick allow someone of a different race to be like him if they were white? No, he'd call them racist. Do you know what I'm saying? That's my problem with a lot of the racial activists, is the hypocrisy. If you don't care about race, cool. You're like most people in the country. If you, or maybe not, I don't know. It seems like with the internet and as time moves on, more and more people do care about race. But in general, it's like, are you consistent? Are you reasonable? Are you fair? If you believe that for your race, do you allow others to do that for their race? If you don't, then what are you? What are you doing? That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's my take on the situation. And what's so annoying about that is I know that RFK would never say that to other ethnic groups. He just feels comfortable saying that to white people in Alabama because that's what everybody feels comfortable doing. So, and this goes for, white people too that do like racial activism. You got to be consistent and you got to be fair. And if you're not, like, people are going to hate you, and I see that a little bit on Twitter. It's like, I don't mind the edgy stuff, obviously, like it doesn't bother me on either side. But what does bother me is the hypocrisy. It's like if a black activist or a black, advocate or whatever does something, but then he cries when a white person does it, it's just cringe. And then when a white person does all this edgy stuff, but then they cry when a black person does the edgy stuff, it's also cringe to me. It's like, if you're going to dish it out, you got to be able to take it. And if you're going to be snarky and rude and a dick and be lopsided for your ethnic group to the point where you're just like shitting on everybody that feels differently, then when someone shits on you, like, how could you even be mad at it? So it's just like, I feel like so many people are hypocritical with the topic. And with RFK Jr., I do think that, yes, he's good on pharmaceuticals. Yes, he's good on regulations to some extent when it comes to like food and drugs. And, I would love to see him have a role in the government. There's no way that he would be worse than a pharmaceutical lobbyist running HHS. So I would love to see what RFK does with a little bit of power, even if he took like Fauci's role or something. He can't be worse than Fauci. But I don't like RFK's bid for president. I'll say this to the people that do like RFK. One, it made more sense to me when he ran as a Democrat. Once he went independent, it's like you're just throwing a wrench in the election that you're never going to win. So what's the point? You're just role playing now. 3, 2, whatever number I'm on. When I watched his interview, part of it with Dave Smith, Dave asked him about the Israel lobby. And, I know RFK is pro-Israel and it is what it is. But it's like, if you're going to gaslight me and pretend like you don't know about the Israel lobby, he paused for 10 seconds and he goes, I don't know about that. Like, talk to a politician. They would know better. Think about how fake that is, RFK Jr., right? He talks about the Ukraine war. He's not a politician. He knows everything about that. He knows the history almost as good as Putin, perhaps as good. He's a smart guy. He wrote a book about Anthony Fauci. He doesn't say, well, I'm not a doctor. I don't know about Anthony Fauci. I'm not in the HHS or the FDA or the NIAID is probably what Fauci's part of, the National Institute of Infectious Diseases or whatever. I don't know the full thing, but infectious diseases is the NIAID. No, he talks about that. He talks about the economy. He's not an economist. He talks about crime. He's not a politician. He talks about the border. He doesn't work for the government. So it's like he has an opinion about everything. And he knows about almost every topic. And never does he say, don't ask me, I'm not a politician, because that's a crazy thing to say because he's running for the president of the United States. So the fact when he was asked about the Israel lobby, it's not the fact that he wouldn't condemn it or the fact that he wouldn't say what Dave wanted him to say. I'm fine with people being themselves. If you're pro-Israel, be pro-Israel. If you're pro-America first and you think that it's an unfair relationship, say it. But if you're going to gaslight me and say that I don't know, I'm not a politician, yet you're running for office and you have opinions about everything because you're running to be the president. So if you're not qualified to be the president, then to get out of the race. He's qualified for everything except for that topic because he doesn't want to talk about the Israeli lobby because he knows that it's real. He knows that it's powerful. He's probably concerned with the consequences of ever talking against it. And that leads his foreign policy in that direction to just be totally lopsided. I don't mind when people are pro-Israel, but you're not going to gaslight me and be like, they're the most moral army of all time. They're the burger that, they protect civilian lives the most. Not really. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say they're the worst, but I mean, Some think they are. They're not the best that I've seen in my lifetime. But if you said like they have to do this to beat Hamas, to take the land or whatever, it's like, I'm not saying it's right, but at least I could respect somebody that's honest. Like, yeah, we're trying to wipe a lot of them out so we could take the land, or yeah, we're trying to wipe them out and kick them out, and you take the refugees for this. I'm not saying it's right. It's crazy, but I respect someone more that tells me something crazy that they believe because they don't give a shit about the people. Like, yeah, we don't give a shit about them. They're not doing anything with the land. It's ours. We don't feel comfortable living near them, so we're gonna do what we have to do. That makes sense. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm like, okay, that guy's telling me what he really thinks. Saying that they do the most to protect civilian casualties, I mean, you got to be an idiot to believe that. But, I guess that's the target audience. So I could go on and on, but RFK, not really interested in his campaign. I think he's a shit lib. I think he's good on a few topics, but just the way he ran this time, it doesn't make sense running independent. I think he's going to say what he thinks he needs to say in order to win, but to be honest, on the one topic that I think reigns supreme on all politics, RFK is crazier than Trump and Biden on. So what's the point of following another person who's just a character doing almost the same exact thing? I think they just give people a hero. If the people need a hero, give them a hero. It's the same with Geert Wilders. It's the same with Marine Le Pen or whatever her name is, or the lady who ran Italy, Maloney, and you know what I'm saying, Mali. I don't trust or believe any of these people, but if you do, everybody needs a character. I suggest like watching maybe like, cartoons or something if you really need a thrill, but if you want to role play with politics, that's on you. I just don't think it's going to end up how you think it's going to end. Speaking of which, I want to show you, and I want people to pay close attention, then I'll read the comments, because this is something that I've been seeing, and I finally brought it all together because the Anti-Defamation League is just look on their Wikipedia. They're an international Jewish organization based out of America, but it says international, right? And I think it was founded by B'nai B'rith, which is like a ancient Jewish society of some sort. I mean, you could look into that, but anyway, it's like it is what it is. But the ADL has been around at least for like 100 years now, and they're, I would say, very influential, very powerful. They influence social media. They brag about it. They create rules and hate speech rules. And you know what I'm saying? They're constantly saying that words and numbers and symbols and phrases and this and that is anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism. Everything's anti-Semitism. You go to their website, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism, everything Christians, anti-Semitism. Like, it's like they're like one of the, like, if you've never seen all the things that they say are anti-Semitic, it's fascinating. I mean, there's like dozens of numbers that they say are anti-Semitic that I've never even heard of. It's like, oh, that number's anti-Semitic too? How is a number anti-Semitic? But whatever. So anytime that the Anti-Defamation League comes up doing something crazy, like they went after Elon Musk and, they go after right-wingers all the time, the Republican Party, Ben Shapiro, they'll say, oh, the Anti-Defamation League is a progressive left-wing organization. And here's the thing. It's partially true in the sense that they have a left-wing skew, but the Republican Party, in my opinion, the Republican Party is essentially symbolically the ADL pretending to be Ron Paul. Like they're like, oh, they're so different. They're so left-wing. Not really. That's what the Trump Republican Party is to me. Symbolically, they're the Anti-Defamation League pretending to be Ron Paul, America First conservatives, in my view. So here's Elise Stefanik of the Republican Party, who may be Trump's vice president. I said years ago, that's my guess is that she's going to be the vice president. Trump mentioned her name today as one of the nominees. I don't know if she will be, but the reason I thought she was going to be vice president is because she's a total puppet. She's a total pawn. She's like a Mitch McConnell in heels. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said 2 years ago, I think she's going to be vice president and she's still in the running, because they don't go by who you like or who they like. It's a power game. Who did the donors like? Who does the party like? Elise Stefanik. She's Mitch McConnell in heels, just 30 years younger. With that being said, look at her waving the ADL's grades in Congress. Remember this next time they tell you that they're a left-wing organization, okay?
Isn't it also true that the Northwestern earned an F for your failure to respond and combat anti-Semitism, and they called for your resignation? Is that correct?
I have great respect for the ADL.
I'm not asking your respect for the ADL. I'm asking, is it a fact that you earned an F?
If you're ever interested, look at all of the conservatives that the ADL smears and look at all of the Christians and Christian phrases and symbols. Like they're, you know what I'm saying? They're an interesting organization. God bless them. But I'm going to play that clip again remember this, because every time the ADL ever comes up, like if they go after Elon Musk or they attempt to get Twitter to censor more, or they brag about censoring almost all social media, or they're, collaborating with certain things, just remember, because the Republicans, they're going to always try to be like, no, that's not us. This is a progressive left.
Isn't it also true that the Northwestern earned an F for your failure to respond and combat anti-Semitism, and they called for your resignation? Is that correct?
Here's Ben Shapiro saying they're a progressive left-wing organization, with a compilation of Ben Shapiro also citing the ADL, retweeting the ADL's head as like owning the left. And then also Libs of TikTok is a big conservative account on Twitter run by some Jewish chick. And she said that the ADL was going after her. The left-wing ADL was going after her, calling her like an extremist. And literally within a couple weeks, she's telling people to report to the ADL. It's very odd behavior, but of course, noticing this odd behavior is anti-Semitism. And I like the Libs of TikTok chick. She seems cool. Ben Shapiro, not a big fan of, but she seems like a cool chick. I'm sure we'd get along. It's just like this type of behavior is just so bizarre to me. So listen to this clip and then watch the presentation real quick. It's only happening once.
Elon Musk is now at war with the Anti-Defamation League. So let's be clear about the Anti-Defamation League. It is a progressive interest group that proclaims that it is speaking in the name of Jewish causes. That is untrue. It is just a progressive interest group.
So he said it's just a progressive interest group, but Ben constantly tweets them out and say, ADL did a study on Jewish journalists who received anti-Semitic attacks online, and I'm the #1 targeted. So he loves to use them as proof that he's a target of anti-Semitism. Progressive left wing. No, they're a Jewish organization. Ben Shapiro retweets. This is, wow, Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL takes down MSNBC's deep anti-Israel bias live on MSNBC TV. Ben Shapiro gets along with progressive organizations. Here's the most interesting one. Libs of TikTok. She writes, breaking, and she tags them. ADL California has responded to Jewish students being harassed at school for being Jewish, then receiving a gag order regarding the incident. They joined in calling on MBUSD News to take action. You can also file a complaint about this school on the ADL's website here. And then she tags the ADL and the ADL California. So she's telling California students, report your anti-Jewish stuff to the ADL. Report to the ADL. Report to the ADL. If you followed, I don't know if everybody here follows the saga, she was crying for weeks saying the ADL's targeting me. The ADL's harassing me. This left-wing organization's calling me an extremist. Oh my gosh, they put me on this list that I'm an extremist. Oh my gosh, the ADL's so bad. They're so left-wing. If they're so bad and they're so left-wing, why are you tagging them and telling students to report to them? Because they're a Jewish organization. And that's what Ben Shapiro and Chaya, the Libs of TikTok, they do. They say, oh no, that's just left-wing. Oh no, they're so crazy. Yeah, no, that's not us. But I'm going to constantly cite them. I'm going to hold it up in Congress, says Elise Stefanik. I'm going to tell people to report to them. Why would you tell people to report to the organization that called you an extremist? Isn't that weird? But noticing how weird that is anti-Semitism, of course, because, you're just supposed to believe that they're just a progressive organization, that one of the most powerful people in the Republican Party waves as proof of hate speech, that Ben Shapiro cites as proof of hate, that Ben Shapiro retweets when they go on MSNBC, and that somebody that says she got harassed by them and called an extremist will then cite and tell people to go report to the group that was just harassing her. Does that make sense to you? It of course does if you know what's going on, but these are the reports that people don't do. This is why I don't care. Obviously I care about my job and I'm grateful and I do it, but it's like all this other stuff is just, it's like circus. You know what I'm saying? It's like WWE. It's like, wow, look at the left. Oh, the left. It's like they're working with the same organizations, like hand in hand. Like it's crazy. So it's like once you see this stuff, like everything else, it's just like a joke. I just found that interesting because every time that group comes up, because they're gonna do probably more stuff, like they're constantly trying to get Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and YouTube to censor, and they've bragged. There's videos of them saying we've worked with every major Silicon Valley platform and we've done this and we've done that and we're trying to stop hate and we're trying to get this up and that, and they went after Elon Musk and then they go after this. It's like they're constantly pushing for more policing of speech and more hate speech, I would say targeting, like calling people, that's hate speech, this is hate speech. So every time they come up, the right, Ben Shapiro, they just say, oh, it's just a progressive left-wing organization that I also retweet all the time. It's like, it's ridiculous. Someone said, I'll read a few comments. Let's see. Raza Ideal said, "You the man anomaly. I come here for the news and always stay for the vibes. Hope everyone's having a beautiful long weekend. Peace, love, and harmony to all." Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the very beautiful message. I appreciate that. It's a nice message. God bless you. Someone said, "If I'm not mistaken, Aaron Rodgers supported Robert Kennedy, but didn't say a damn thing about Kennedy's silence on Israel." See, here's the thing is I don't know what Aaron Rodgers knows or cares about Israel and Palestine. Maybe he doesn't care about it. Maybe he doesn't know about it. One thing that I thought was interesting was Aaron Rodgers mentioned that the Epstein thing was like nobody's been charged and everybody was on his plane or whatever. And it's like, wasn't RFK Jr. on the plane too? I'm not saying it means he's guilty. Just because you met with Jeffrey Epstein, it doesn't mean you did anything. Like Jeffrey Epstein was a socialite, and this is going to be unpopular. Thank you, Dalton. I appreciate it. This is going to be unpopular to say, but like everybody likes to say, "Oh, that person's in a picture with somebody. Oh, that person's." It's not nothing, but at the end of the day, like Epstein was like a socialite and probably compromising people for 30 years. So the connections between Epstein and rich people, he was everywhere all the time. It doesn't mean necessarily that people were in on it because they were probably trying to trap everybody with influence in politics and society. With that being said, I wouldn't want to be on the flight logs. I wouldn't want to have met him. Luckily, I had no power or influence. So, of course, they wanted nothing to do with me. But I'm sure if I was as famous and connected as RFK, they probably would have been going for me as well to try to compromise me or get me on a jet. So I'm not saying that RFK Jr. is guilty. I'm not saying that Trump's guilty because he hung out with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell a lot, but somebody was guilty. You know what I'm saying? And I think the fact that there's no names, like everybody's a little suspicious, but, I don't know. Clearly it wasn't nothing. Someone said Trump rode on Epstein's plane 7 times. Is that true? I've seen him in pictures dancing with Epstein and stuff. I just don't like to make false accusations, but I will say that Trump governs like somebody that like everything he thinks. He literally has an interview where he says he thinks that Israel should literally own Congress. It's like, would an Israeli politician say America should own Israel's Congress? That's a little weird. No, you know what I'm saying? Like, shouldn't Israel own Israel's Congress? Shouldn't Saudi Arabia own their Congress if they even have a Congress? Why should America's Congress be owned by but that's nothing to see there. Someone said Trump was not on his plane 7 times. I don't know. Yeah, that's what somebody said. I don't know that that's true. I know that they knew each other, but I'm not going to make accusations. Someone said, "Who created Hamas? Who funded Hamas?" These are hateful thoughts of yours. Condemn and go on an apology tour. I know that the election never would have happened if they didn't push for it. They were like, "We need a democracy here." Oh, no, not that democracy. Everything's a democracy. When America supports Ukraine, it's a democracy, even though they just, Zelensky's still in power and he's past his term. How is he in power past his term? Oh, because there's a war and he gets to be there because of it. It's like, well, it's not very democracy, but I guess, it's like the international world and the democracy. These are just, even the word terrorist, like I hate to say it because obviously there are people that are terrorists, but the Western press and the Western world, they use that word against anybody that they can't control. So it's like, there's terrorism going on, and I'm not saying that someone's not doing it, but it's like if another country or another group that America supports is doing crazy stuff, they're not going to call it terrorism. They're going to just be like, no, that's a rebel group. It's like all these terminologies. Like if America supports it, it's just a rebel group. If America's fighting it, it's a terrorist group. There's just like a word for it. If America supports it, it's a democracy. If America doesn't, it's not. When it comes to Saudi Arabia, I guess they're an ally sort of, but like, they'll be like, oh, they should treat women better and have these rules, but maybe we won't talk about it that much because they got money. And then you go to another country that like America hates and they'll be like, oh, they're so not progressive and not liberal enough. And you're like, okay. And then you go to one of America's allies that's, like has pro-abortion and gay rallies and stuff. And they'll be like, oh yeah, that's, it's like, it's all just like fake, That's why it's hard to really respect. I like America. I don't think the world is perfect. What's sad to me now, because every country lies. It's not like Iran's telling the truth and Russia's always telling the truth. It's not to say that other countries are like 100% honest, because it's not true. But with that being said, as an honest person, it feels like America is one of the least honest countries at this point. Like, it's not to say we're the worst country. I'm not ashamed to be an American or anything. I like this country. It's just, I'm embarrassed, to be honest. Like, I'm a little bit embarrassed because when I was growing up, I feel like I thought we were more honest, or maybe we were more honest, but now it's like everything our government says is a lie. They can't tell the truth about everything. If you want to invade that country, just tell me the truth. Tell me why you're doing it. I could respect that more. Listen, we got to do what we got to do. Okay, I'm not going to agree, but I can. Okay, well, now you're at least telling me the truth. Everything's not a democracy. Everybody we're fighting is not terrorists. Every group we fund is not a rebel group. Like, it's like, we'll fund terrorists in order to achieve an objective. And they even admit that. Hillary Clinton came out one time and talked about the Mujahideen and how we armed all these rebel groups and then they turned into terrorists. It's like, it's just like, that speech of Hillary was like weirdly honest. I don't remember when it was from, but she was being very genuine. She was like, listen, we funded these terrorists essentially, and then they turned on us, and it is what it is. And it's like, I could respect that. I don't like Hillary Clinton or most of what she says, but when she said that, I was like, where politicians, they used to, even though they were lying, sort of, they used to respect the population. And I want to say this, they respected us, so they couldn't lie all the time. They're like, yeah, we're going to be sneaky, but we got to tell these people the truth a little bit or they're going to catch on to us. Now they don't respect us at all because we don't demand respect. So they're like, lie to them, take their money, take more of their money, send it to a foreign country, milk them dry, destroy the economy, say it was that party when it was both parties. Like, they don't respect us anymore. And as much as that annoys me, we need to demand respect and earn respect. But I think as long as, people are so divided and confused, like they couldn't get away with this stuff in the 1990s. Did they do other stuff? Yes. Did they get away with other stuff? Absolutely. But a lot of the stuff that I noticed that they did was always overseas, because when it was overseas through the media, they could lie to you about it and you'd never know. So they do it there, but they're like, we can't do that in America because these people would figure it out. We got to do it overseas. Now that everybody's so dumb, they're like, no, let's just do it in America. Like they what are they going to do about it? Someone said, who was Leo Frank and what was his connection to the ADL? I've heard that story. I believe that he got like lynched or something because he was a pedophile, or he was perceived as that. And then the ADL was created to defend him, I believe is the story. I wasn't alive then and I'm only reading headlines and stuff, but people that they were created to basically like defend him and Jewish interests. And they even say on their Wikipedia, it's an international Jewish organization. It's just easier to say it's just like a progressive left-wing organization. It's like, if that's the case, why is Libs of TikTok telling people to report to them? Because Libs of TikTok knows what type of organization they are. Why is Ben Shapiro retweeting them and bragging about, their like classifications of him? Because he knows what type of organization it really is. It's not, it has a progressive skew, absolutely. But it's not just a progressive organization. Someone said, you have to defend all free speech. It's gross, but them are the breaks. Yeah, you have to, or else you lose it, but slowly but surely. I mean, in the last couple of years, I feel like it bounced back a little bit. I don't want to be like so downer about it, because I do think that people are tired of the policing. People are tired of like, oh, everything's racist. I do notice that there's a lot more people that are like, okay, let's bring back comedy. Let's be funny again. Let's stop like nitpicking all these things. Because at the end of the day, it's like someone said something, bro, like, how much does your rent cost? Like, how much are they taking from you? How much are they taxing you? This is what matters, not what somebody across the country said on social media. Like, how does that really affect you that much? It doesn't matter. Cowboy Bear said, we beat racism in the 90s. The Matrix was right. They said the peak of our civilization was the late 90s. Yeah, I feel like the 90s and 2000s were, people were like, okay, we can all coexist. We can all do our thing. We could crush and have like wholesome television shows. And then they were like, nah, let's bring in the subversion. Let's destroy it. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I feel like the 90s and 2000s were awesome, but also I'm biased because I was a kid just watching like Power Rangers and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a Power Ranger when I grow up. They were like, actually, no, you're going to be called racist, sexist, xenophobic, anti-Semitic, anti-vaxxer, conspiracy theorist, climate denier when you grow up. I was like, really? I thought I was going to be the Red Ranger. What do you mean? They're like, well, that's where the world's going. You're not only not going to be a Power Ranger, but the Power Rangers are going to be gay. They're going to turn into rainbow colors, and then they're going to start banging each other. And you're like, damn, I just wanted to be Tommy, the Red Ranger. But if that's what you're saying the future is, who am I to judge? I guess, And then the time traveler just disappeared into thin air. And I was like, that was weird. I thought I was the Red Ranger at the playground. I was an alpha kid too. People were like, I'm the Red Ranger. I'm like, you're the Blue Ranger, loser. No, I didn't call people losers. I was a nice kid, but I was like, I'm definitely the Red Ranger. Like if someone's like, oh, I am, I was like, look at you. You're not the Red Ranger, bro. Come on. You could be Kimberly. You could be the pink one. All right. And then that kid ended up on a Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm just messing around. Rainbow Ranger. If they haven't made the Power Rangers gay, I bet there's a Hollywood person watching this and they're like, ooh, that's a good idea. I never thought about that. It's like, you've made everything gay. How have you not thought about that? That's like an obvious one. But someone said, you're so funny. I appreciate it. Like earlier, I thought I was being funny, but it seemed a little dry. And I read comments. People were like, you're funny. You're funny. I was like, all right, good. People are laughing. Cause you read some of these gals, some of these fellers on Facebook, and they're like, you're so pessimistic. You're such a cynic. It's like, I'm a cynic because I said that Trump's not going to win the Bronx. I saw a picture. I was going to post it, but I forgot. There was an AI image, and it literally, you have to write on Facebook now if it's like AI. For good reason. I like that rule, but it's like an AI altered image of a fake like white kid with like a Make America Great Again hat. And by not a kid, maybe like a young man, where he was like wearing a MAGA hat. But like, to me, it was so clearly artificial intelligence. It looked like pretty real, but not real enough where I would be fooled by it. But like all the boomers on Facebook, they were like, Make America Great Again. I'm a Christian. And it was an AI image trying to sell hats. And like all the comments were flooded with like, you go, son, you're brave. You're a brave warrior. Don't let the left, get you down. And it's like, it's not a real guy. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick because we love the boomers here, but like, that's how easy boomers are to trick. You can make like an AI white guy and they'll be like, don't let the left get you down. And it's like, the left's not going to get him down because it's not even a real person. It's an artificially intelligence, like cartoon. But just more realistic, but not that realistic. Like I knew right away, but they're like, go get him, kid. The world's cold. You're on our side. You're talking to a fake AI image. So it's like, these are the people that are constantly getting mad at me. They're like, Trump's going to win the Bronx. He's not though. Like he's not going to win the Bronx. He's going to win New York. Maybe, but probably not. He's going to win New Jersey. It's not a 0% chance, but it's probably under 10% or 20%, maybe. But also maybe not, it's like, it's not I'm not cynical because I don't care, nor do I think he needs to win those states to win the election. He needs to win Pennsylvania. He needs to win like Georgia. He needs to win Michigan. These are states he needs to win. New Jersey and New York, it wouldn't be bad, but someone said Anomaly said he loves Facebook's restrictive posting rules. No, I just said I don't mind if they label an AI image. If it's an AI image and it's pretending to be real, I don't mind them labeling it artificial. Because I'm not a libertarian. Like I don't, I'm very libertarian on a lot of policies, but I'm realistic. I want the government to do something and be moral, but they have too much power. They should do simple things. For example, I forget what I was going to say now because there's another one. When it comes to like AI music, it's creepy. I'm not saying that like the government necessarily needs to get involved, but I don't want people to be making fake Drake songs and fake Rick Ross songs and fake pictures. And then we're living in a lie and nobody even knows where we are. Like I'm okay with, accurate labeling of AI images, in my opinion, but I got fact checked on a meme yesterday or two, like this week, and everybody that shared the meme, which was like 6,000 people, they all got a notification. The meme was like Spider-Man saying like the people that are 40, like, how are you letting the people that are $34 trillion in debt, like, give you a credit score? And the fact check was like, the government doesn't give you a credit score. I didn't say the government gives you a credit score. I never said that. It's a meme. It's a joke. Does every joke have to be like factually 100% accurate? Like I can't make it's like Joe Biden's dumb. And they're like, well, technically his IQ is 95. It's like, it's a freaking meme, bro. I didn't say the federal government issues credit scores, but in America, you need a credit score to do almost anything. So it's part of American life. And, a lot of the same people that are judging your credit score are the same people that are, controlling government. So it's not like that far-fetched of a joke, but I guess now everybody needs to be harassed. Someone said 95 IQ is dumb. Well, yeah, I'm not going to say Joe Biden's smart, but I'm just saying like, they're like, technically he's not the dumbest. Like, okay, you can just call me dumb because I made a dumb joke. I don't care. But Anomaly, what do you think about people blaming the group that must never be mentioned for just about everything that is wrong in the world? Well, if you're asking me about that framing of it, I would say that people need to take accountability, because at the end of the day, no one can do anything unless you allow it or have no influence in it. So I don't agree with that, I guess, like people that blame other people or people that are, victims. With that being said, it's hard for me to know what you're talking about because, for example, like if you say something honest to a left winger, they say that it's hate speech. And then they say that you said something that you never said. And it's like, okay. And then if you go to the right, it's the same thing with anti-Semitism. Is like you could say something 100% factually honest. Like I'll be like, oh, look at this donor with hundreds of millions of dollars paid Trump. And then they'll be like, oh, that's that old trope conspiracy theory that they're running the world. And it's like, you could perceive it that way, but that's not what I said. So for people that play the victim and complain and blame groups for everything, it's annoying. It's cringe, just like when anybody does it. But at the same time, it's like if you understand certain like aspects, like for example, one of the anti-Semitism hate speech laws is saying that, you can't say that Jewish people control parts of society. Like that's anti-Semitism. Do they not dominate banking? Are we going to pretend like they don't dominate banking? Okay, I guess we could pretend that because, it's hate speech or whatever. And I'm not even saying you have to get upset at it, because if someone's good at something and they've, dominated the field or rose to the ranks of the field, then it is what it is. But to me, it's always like, with me, it's never hate or blame. It's always why. So it's like with banking, for example, why are Jewish people doing well in banking? There's a lot of reasons. You could say smart, you could say they understand money, you could say good families, you could say historically. But if you take it historically and you really study history, you'll realize that there's a reason why. So I can't speak for right wingers that blame or left wingers that cry. I can only say what I believe is true. And from what I've read and what I've researched, and it doesn't seem to be that controversial or debated, Jewish people historically dominated banking because certain religions didn't want to do certain things, and then Jewish people were doing them. So that's how they got in control of the banking industry, was because from what I've researched, certain religions were not doing it and didn't want to do it, or thought it was immoral to do it for whatever reason you want to say. So that field became dominated by a certain group because they didn't operate under the same rules. Okay, sure. Here's the thing, though. It's like the owner of a casino makes more money than the lottery winner. So if you own the banks, you kind of like if you can have a huge, I won't even say monopoly, but a huge leverage into the money supply. Like it's hard for me to believe that everything else doesn't go downstream from there. But I understand that is hate speech. So it's like with certain things, you could find clips of Dennis Prager saying that Jewish individuals were behind a lot of left-wing things, Karl Marx, this and that. Like he starts naming them all. So it's like if someone says it on the right, they'll be like, oh, are you suggesting that they're doing this, 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 and this? And it's like, well, no, not everyone's doing it. And no, it's not everyone's fault. And no, it's not to blame for everything. No. But, in America, it's like, why are certain things, like where do certain ideas come from? It doesn't mean it's everyone's fault. It doesn't mean that everyone's to blame, but the founder of pornography, Al Goldstein, read why he said he did pornography. He's known as like the father of pornography. He's one of the most, if not the most important person in legalizing pornography in America. It's not a Christian idea. It's not a Muslim idea. Where's the idea come from? It's probably not even an Orthodox idea, but I have no idea. I don't understand that religion, because even simply trying to understand it, you get called hateful. So there's no reason to even look into it. But anyway, it's like he specifically said he was pushing pornography in America to defile Christians and white people. Like, he said that. I mean, in different words, but you could read the quote. It's even crazier than that. So, you know, like, I don't know. What do you say? It's like, that's how that came to America, sort of, you know? But is that blaming? No, it's not blaming everybody. It's not even necessarily blaming him. It just is what it is. So I don't like people who play the victim, and I don't like people who blame people that aren't responsible. And I don't like, you know, people who lie or people that are evil. But sometimes the truth is perceived as hate speech. And when you start looking into certain stuff, it's like pretty obvious who has a huge influence. And that's why there's speech laws being passed all over the world. You know, there's thousands of speech laws being passed in thousands of different places, and they all have the same definition of hate speech for one group and one race and one religion. You don't get those type of rules by not being powerful and not having sway. And with me, like, I'm not even being hateful about it, because I'm not jealous or envious, but it's like, if you dominate banking, a lot of other stuff comes downstream from that. So it's not hard to understand, in my view, of like why a lot of things are owned in that direction. And, you know, you could lie to yourself about it, but it is what it is. I guess I'm just more interested in the why. I'm not a blamer. I'm just like a why. And what you start noticing is like, yeah, a lot of things are owned by that. But this is what I would say, where, you know, this has been the debate, at least in America recently, and probably other places. But say Saudi Arabia, right? Saudi Arabia is an Islamic country, right? They like Islam. They don't like alcohol. They don't want these things that we have. They don't want them. They're Islamic. They want to stay that way. Does everybody want to stay that way? Probably not, but enough people do there. So they are that way. If I came to Saudi Arabia and people of my religion or race came to Saudi Arabia and we started making pornography more legal, and we started making alcohol, or like these things that they didn't want, and then they didn't like it, and then I just said that they were being hateful towards me and that it was a conspiracy theory, it would just make people more annoyed. So I think also the lack of accountability and the constant, like Ben Shapiro, like he's always being like, oh, that's it's like, it's just like so disingenuous, and you can't like legislate people into liking you. And that's such a sneaky thing to do, is like, oh, I'm going to legislate and make people like me through like speech legislation. It's like, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the accountability is just not there. It's like, it used to be a more Christian nation. You push pornography, feminism, this and that. And I'm not saying it's all that, but really, like, if you listen to Dennis Prager, he says that most of those left-wing groups were, you know, some of the most influential people were Jewish. You know, that's what Dennis Prager said. Harvey Milk in the LGBT community. You know, I mean, you can go to a lot of these things that right-wingers think are subversive or really bad and trace, you know, who were some of the most important people. And you could say that for other things on the right too, that maybe you like. But at the end of the day, I guess this is what I'm saying is like, it's this, you know, I don't know if I should say this, but it's the same thing with crime in America, where, you know, there are bad people who blame everyone for everything. But at the end of the day, if you look at the FBI crime statistics, there's one ethnic group responsible for a large portion of the violent crimes. So yeah, of course, there's going to be people who say that that's, you know, that are racist or mean or terrible and whatever. But the best way to like quash all this stuff would be to like lower the murder rate, you know, which is something that doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon. So it's the same thing with that. It's just like, do some people say certain stuff? Sure. Do some people take it too far? Absolutely. Do some people blame and play the victim? Yes. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, the truth is the truth, whether you perceive it as hate speech or not. So it depends what you want to look into and what you want to research. But anybody that's like honest and intelligent and that researches what's going on in the world, like, you know, they'll call you anti-Semitic because Trump's biggest donors are paying him to do certain things. And once you figure it out, it's anti-Semitism. The country that pretty much just dominates America, left wing, right wing, Trump, Biden, doesn't matter. This election, it's already this topic has already been decided. It's the same topic. So it's like so many things go back to that. And once you figure it out, they'll just say it's hate speech. So it is what it is. And it's like, I don't come from a hateful place, but I just don't want to live in a world where everything true is considered hateful. So I don't know what else to do. I'm not a liar. So I just say what it is. But, with that being said, all this BLM, 10 years of, trying to get people to be less racist, and probably the races are more divided. When you see a racial post or an interracial couple and you go to Instagram, it's filled with people of all races talking shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like people seem like they're more quote unquote racist than they were 10 years ago. Why is that? BLM spent a lot of money. They've done this and that because it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? This push to police hate speech and treat everybody like shit and then blow up the economy. That's not a way to get people to like each other. Now people make less money, and the less people make, the more they look to blame somebody. So, the left's strategy to stop racism has failed completely. And the right's strategy to stop anti-Semitism doesn't work because it doesn't involve self-awareness or self-accountability at all. So it's like everything is just a conspiracy theory, or everything is just hate, where it's like, yes, some people are dicks, but at the end of the day, like, there's a reason for everything. And I think that America is not the country that it was 50, 60 years ago, for the better or worse. And a lot of the reason is because there's influence from people that don't have the same worldview. They don't have the same religion. They don't have the same moral structure. They don't have the same thoughts about things that you consider wrong, so they think are right. And when you have a lot of money and power, you're able to, and understand the legal system, you're able to, over time, win more than you lose. And now we're in a country where it's like inverted reality. So, if you really want to figure out how it's happening, you could look into it. But I think in general, that's where people are starting to, maybe blame or notice these things more, where it's like, it would be like if I just said you're blaming progressives and liberals for everything. It's like, oh, you're blaming liberals for everything. You'd be like, well, they're doing a lot. It's like, okay. So, I don't just blame liberals, but I think they fail at running neighborhoods. I think their policies are backwards, and, but like, it's like, I can't speak on what other people are saying, and I can't like frame everything. Like, cause some people will be like, well, you said that, but they said that, and they left that comment, and then they responded. And it's like, I don't know how to play those games. It's like, to me, that's like, well, Biden said this and Trump said this and Trump beat Biden. It's just theater. It's like it's like a controlled conversation where it's like, here's this side. What do you think about? Here's what I think. I just said it. What other people think or what other people say, I don't know what they're doing, how they're blaming, or what they're like. I can't speak on that, because a lot of the people that you probably see doing that bothers you, I mean, it might be bothering you and you might be exaggerating, or these might be people that wouldn't like me because they're also just like, aggressive or annoying. There's people that post stuff that get mad at me because I'm not doing what they want. So I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't live in this fantasy world where I'm like, everybody agrees with me on this side. It's like, no, people on the left and the right, on this side, on that side, everyone perceives things different and gets upset when you say certain things or won't say certain things. So I don't know. Sister T said he sits on the internet and complains every day, offering no solutions. This is the I appreciate you bringing this up, even though you're being annoying. This is like the number one most said thing that's just not even true, is like, I'm analyzing. I'm not necessarily complaining. I do offer solutions, but when my solution is not the solution you wish it was, then you lie and say that I'm not offering solutions. I believe the solution is personal responsibility. I believe the personal solution is being the change you want to see in the world. I believe the solution is not idol worshiping a politician. And I don't think any party's going to change. And I believe the solution comes when enough people in America respect themselves, because the elites don't respect you, but I don't blame them, because you don't deserve respect. You don't even respect yourself. Why should someone else respect you? I respect you, but most of these people don't. Trump doesn't need to respect a base that doesn't respect himself. Liberal politicians don't need to respect a city that doesn't respect themselves. So to me, the solution, it's when enough people know the truth and are not willing to get tricked by political games. And then on a personal level, you can accomplish what you can accomplish, whether the country's great or not, based on your persistence, dedication, and no one's going to stop you in your personal life. I'm not a victim. I don't complain. I'm not, some things are annoying, but I've been able to. How have I been able to do it? Because I'm not a victim. Because I'm not blaming. I'm just speaking. I'm analyzing. So, with that being said, every time I say that, which is what I believe is your personal and political solution, the people that want to idol worship and constantly getting tricked in circles, they then pathologically lie in the comment section and say, you never offer solutions. It's like, you just don't want to hear my solution. It's like an obese person. How do I lose weight? Should I take these pills? And I'm like, no, you should eat less and exercise over the course of a year, and then you'll lose weight. Oh, wow. You're just complaining about how fat I am. No, you literally asked me, and I told you what I thought. I mean, could you take a pill? Probably, but I wouldn't. I would probably just over time try to eat less and exercise more, which is actually what I'm doing myself right now. I've been 24-hour, 28-hour fasting all week, eating less, eating better stuff. No, just like healthier stuff. I'm not fat, but I want to get my abs back. I used to play soccer and have like 6-pack abs, and trying to get back in like tip-top shape. I'm in good shape. I've been in a way better shape this year. I'm trying to get back to like prime shape. So that's what I'm doing personally as well. I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to have a better schedule, which I have, and I feel awesome. It's been great. So I don't care if you disagree with me, but like, you got to stop lying and being like, you never offer a solution. Like, you sound like a kid. And I don't know how old you are, and I don't care. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate you. God bless you. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 20 or 200, but if you're 200, we should talk, because that's epic. I'd love to have you on the show just for being so old, but I don't care how old you are. But what I'm noticing is like, it's extra cringe when an adult acts like a baby. Because when you say you're not offering any solution, you're basically saying, Mama, my baby pinky fell out of my mouth. I like Donald Trump. Oh, you're not offering a solution. He's going to win New York. He had a Bronx. There were rappers there, black people. Oh my God, he's going to win the black vote. Oh my gosh. He's going to lose the black vote again. He'll probably make some swings, but it's not going to be 50-50. It's not even going to be close. But it's like, you sound like a baby, but it's like when you're 50 or 60, it's like pathetic. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's not the solution you want to hear, but you just remind me of like a baby, It's like, Jerry, come inside, cut dinner. Mama, I want to play with my bicycle. I know, Jeremy, but if you just eat your vegetables, you can go outside till the sun goes down. Mama. It's like, sure, dude. Like, whatever. Like, how do you do you like leave this live stream and then you're like, dude, I'm crushing. You leave this live stream and you're like, I'm the adult in the room, not anomaly. It's like, no one like, I don't know. That's what I always wonder. Because sometimes it's like, I know people are lying, and it's like, I think they know that I know that they're lying, but it's like, at what point do you just be honest with yourself? Because I know you also know, like, it's just like, and they like walk away all mad, and you're like, okay, that makes you feel good, but like, I know Someone said, is the anomaly, is the earth a plane or a ball? That's hate speech. We don't talk hate speech around here. I'll let you know in 10 years. I got some more investigating to do, but listen, let's just say I bought the Kyrie Irving shoes. That's all I'm going to say. Someone said, RFK is far from perfect and I wish him no harm, but I don't believe the deep state globalist progressives will ever let him near the actual White House. RFK is not a threat. Trump is not a threat. The people that run the country like RFK and Trump, they're both puppets. If you can't figure that out by now or why, I don't know what you're listening to. And you don't have to believe me, but it's like, they don't care. Like, they don't care if RFK gets in. he's not going to do. First of all, he's not picking an election that he can even win. If he waited 3 years and ran, as a Democrat, then it's a thing. But he's not really a threat. Trump's not a threat either. There's donors that are going to make sure that Trump wins because, they perceive Biden as not doing enough in the country that totally doesn't control America, or else it's considered hate speech. If you can't figure it out by now, I don't know what to tell you. Someone said Kyrie's Air moccasins. No, I don't have the moccasins. I have some older Kyrie's. I bought them when he was talking about the earth shape. He was like, I don't know about the shape of the earth. And they were like, that's a conspiracy theory. And I just happened to be shopping for basketball shoes at the time. And I was like, I want to get the Kyrie's. And, I just like someone who's just saying what they think. Just like everyone's so boring. And he's like, I'm just like, I'll get his shoes. So that's what it is. Someone said nobody likes Nikki because she says it's because she's brown or something. Nikki's like, listen, we love the Indians here, okay? The Indians, I love Indians. I sell my property to Indians. I eat Indian food, chicken tikka masala. It tastes so good. Naan bread. It's a non-factor. Get it? Non-factor. My Indians, are you with me? I love chicken korma. It's a little creamy, but it's okay. Chicken korma. Am I right, boys? Anyway, we love the Indians here. But anyway, Nikki Haley's the whitest Indian ever. I had to pander to the Indians before I said something offensive. So I hope all the Indians watching are cool. Nikki Haley's super white. Nobody knew she was Indian until she said so, which I'm not questioning her ethnicity. I'm just saying no one's racist again. She doesn't even look Indian. She looks super white. So she's like, oh, it's just because I'm black, huh? You're like, she's like, I'm a little brown girl. You're not really brown. Maybe when she was younger, she was brown, but brown's a color. You're not brown. I have Indian friends that are brown. They're like, yo, I'm brown. I used to play tennis in Super Smash Bros. With a lot of Indians in high school. They were brown. Nikki Haley's not that color. Nikki Haley's like the color of my wall. Let me look up a picture of her. I believe I'm darker than Nikki Haley personally. So you could say you're Indian and people hate you because you're Indian, but you can't really say people hate you because you're brown. Yeah, I could see it a little bit, actually. Let me see that up close. I'm not saying it's not her brownness that I'm cringing at. It's just her face looks a little weathered, It's a little weathered with makeup and dripping. It's a little gross. Yeah, she doesn't really look Indian to me. She's not that brown. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Who's darker, Nikki Haley or Anomaly? Someone said Indian from Indiana. I'm an Indian from Indiana. We're all Indians there. That's what we call ourselves. Someone said I get a lot of spam calls from Indians. Yeah, the Pakistanis, they love those internet scams. Not all of them. There's a lot of good ones, a lot of winners out there. But I don't know what it is with Pakistan and a good internet scam. But they're always they're like, can I interest you in a podcast for $5,000? And then you do it. And then it's just wait, what? They're always trying to pretend. I got an email today where it was hey, it's Travis Kelce and his brother. They want to invite you on the Kelce podcast. And these emails, they look so poorly written and stupid. I know it's a scam every time, but some people do fall for it. It's happened quite a bit, but I don't know, just based on the @Gmail account and the way they're writing, they're like, we'll give you $5,000 to be on the Kelce Brothers podcast. And then I'll just let you guys know for the scammers, what they do is they try to get into your Facebook account and they try to get you to get that, give them permission or something. And then they steal your Facebook. But anyway, someone said, I get a lot of spam calls from one Indian, Nikki Haley. Dude, that's really hateful. You're just belittling a little brown girl who could, okay? She rose against all odds, even though lots of people that are Indian do well in America because they crush in America. But anyway, against all odds, even though not really against the odds because they're doing fine, but against all odds, one girl, she looked at her TV and she said, Mama, what, Nikki? What? Look at the TV. I want to be like him. Baby, that's John McCain. You want to be like John McCain? Yeah, Mama, I want to be a neocon. I want to start wars. I want to start a war for Israel and say it's anti-Semitic to say that I did it. Okay. I don't know. That's a big dream, Nikki. But Mama, I want to be like John McCain. One Indian girl who could. They all said no. You can't be a warmonger. You need a thick mustache like John Bolton to be that person. We won't let a woman destroy the world. We won't let a woman sell out America to multiple foreign countries. We're not going to let a woman start a war in Ukraine. But Mama, I want to be like John McCain. One girl against all odds, except statistically not against all odds because Indians are crushing in America statistically. I'm just saying. Nikki Haley, 2024. It's a good campaign ad. I mean, if they want to reach out and pay me for that, I'll think about it. But my rate just went up. Let's just put it that way. So we'll see. We will see. Stop with the Lindsey Graham voice. It's not my Lindsey Graham voice. My Lindsey Graham voice is, hey, y'all. Is there a war that I want to start? I'm trying to build a new bathhouse. Raytheon, any APAC, is anybody Pfizer? Does anybody want to pay me? Because I have a few bathhouses, but I need one more. Is there a war we can start, or like a speech song we can pass? How does North Carolina keep voting for me? I don't get it. I'm so, I'm 65 and I just choose to be by myself. It's not because I don't like women. It's just because I'm just busy starting wars. I mean, saving democracy is all over. That's my Lindsey Graham. Bathhouse Lindsey. And by the way, that's not a gay joke because that would be offensive. Bathhouse is a joke. I just think, all the dirty money, he needs to shower. You know what I'm saying? Take a bath with all that dirty money. Please don't censor this video. Okay. Someone said, I've been trolling PBD for choosing Chris Cuomo over you. I would love to just talk to them, but it's whatever. I mean, I know Patrick likes business, so it's like, you make a business decision. It's a bad business decision, I mean, it's good for the app that he's pushing people to, but as far as like long term, do what you got to do. I'm not justifying it, but it's a bad business decision. I like being doubted though. A lot of times that's what fuels me. So, it's all good. I'll just throw it in the gas tank and I got to crash. Someone said, I love this show. LOL, we hammering. Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, Pablo. Pablo, I love all Pablos. Okay. I like all people, but Pablos especially. Vote for me, Pablo. Thank you. Ukraine is about energy. Someone said, when you realize the world runs on energy and not money, things makes more sense. Definitely a part of it. I think there's a lot of moves being made around the world for gas and lithium and other stuff. But I think with Ukraine, it's definitely energy, but also I do think there's certain countries that they don't like. Like, here's the thing. If they really cared about energy, they could do deals with Russia. You don't have to fight Russia and do that with Ukraine in order to get energy. It's just they really don't like Russia, in my opinion. Like they can't have like a strong European nation that's not completely cucked. Like it's it's like in the way. It's like, listen, we made all of Europe gay. Like, look at France. They're like, la 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 la. Look at all the migrants. La 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 la. France sucks. No, I'm just kidding. I heard Paris is getting a little shitty, but anyway, it's like all of Europe is like cucked, and then like Russia's not. So I think like financially, I do think that there's energy plays going on, but I think they could get energy and make money and crush and win and not do this with Ukraine and Russia. I think it's definitely partially about energy, but I also think it's a large portion about like they want to make everybody gay and like diverse. They need everybody to be like San Francisco. They're like, why isn't there 50,000 gay flags in St. Petersburg? We need energy. Like, what kind of energy are you talking about? We're not talking about gas. I don't know. With that accent, you sound like you like it. You like that battery powered. You know what I'm saying? You sound like a solar guy. But just kidding. Zelensky just refused a peace deal today. Well, here's the interesting thing about Ukraine now, besides everything. A peace deal would mean he's out of office, or an election would happen. He's only in office as long as the war lasts. So that's what, when you have a person that's in office because of a war emergency thing that goes around elections, Zelensky, he's probably not going to win another election. I don't know, because I don't follow like Ukrainian politics, but the longer this war goes on, the longer he's in power. He can't leave office at this point unless the war ends. So talk about, imagine if Joe Biden can do that and he's like, I want to keep the wars in Israel and Russia going, because it's like, because there could be no election while we were at war or something. Like, that's what's going on in Ukraine. So someone said Netanyahu too. Yeah, I haven't followed it that much, but I know a month or two before there was huge like anti-Netanyahu protests because they had like switched some sort of constitutional thing in order to like give himself more power. And people were mad at that before October 7th. And then even after, there have been protests in Israel. So I don't know if Netanyahu's there until the war ends. It might be true, but I do know that, not everybody there likes him. And before that invasion, that he was pretty unpopular, but also popular enough to win. So I don't know. If no one voted, would we get rid of all government? I don't think so. I mean, there's people that are like, don't vote, just stick it to them. And it's like, sure, if you don't want to vote, don't vote. If you want to vote, vote. You want to vote Trump, go vote Trump. But I personally, I did a whole debate with Brian from whatever, I forget his channel's name, but I don't think not voting is the solution. I also don't think voting is the solution, but I feel like not voting is like, it reminds me of that meme where he's like in last place, but he's like, just celebrating like on the podium, like he won first. That's what not voting reminds me of. It's like, is it cool? Sure. But it's not going to like change anything. Like they'll get in anyway. Someone's going to vote and then someone will get in office. I don't see that like as the solution personally, but whatever. Someone said when the war is over, Zelensky said he'll bring in immigrants to replace all the dead Ukrainian men. I didn't hear that, but I wouldn't doubt it. Zelensky is as puppety as they come. I mean, like, he might be. There's a lot of puppets like in the world. He might be like the number one, just the way he got in office on a television show being like, I'm anti-corruption. And then they voted for him because he's the president. That was ingrained on their head in a television show. And then he becomes the real president. What? Game of Thrones season 15. But Anomaly, you're so pessimistic. I love Zelensky. He's going to save the world. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to ruin the episode. My bad. Yeah, he's totally real. Totally real. He just spontaneously had a television show where he was the president fighting corruption as a history teacher. And now he's just, it's whatever. All right. I got to run, guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. I appreciate the cooler people more, people not so cool. I appreciate you too, because everyone matters, but a little bit less. I'm going to be honest. Thank you guys. God bless you. And if you think you're one of the cooler people, you're right. I'll be back soon, and check out dreamrare.com. We have beanies and hats and a lot of the t-shirts and the sweatshirts. They're almost sold out. So if you want one, get it sooner than later. Appreciate you. I'm out. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting